A very good morning to all of you once again. This is our second class towards Python learning. In first class, we have discussed about installation of Python and pycharm in your machine. Uh, Snehal, sir, are we moving for installation section today's session? Yes, Snehal. So we will be talking about anaconda installation in today's section. Um, Installation of Python and PyCharm was discussed yesterday. So that is something you have to do by yourself. Or let me very quickly check. There was one document I had for installation. Just give me a second. Yep. So there is a document. Okay. So but that has nothing else whatever we have discussed. Like when we discussed about installation of Python may require your environment variable need to be changed and other things, right? The same steps has been written there also. So what I will do in today's class again, we will not be using the setup whatever we have done. So do not everyone who has joined, do not worry about it too much. Okay, you will still get today's time for your setup. So I will share that document in the WhatsApp group after the class, and we will not be using any of the setup for today's learning. Today's learning also will be completely on whiteboard, so do not worry about it. But let's see the installation part of Anaconda. Okay, so for the people who are planning for machine learning and data science after Python, Anaconda installation is very important for those people mainly. Okay, and other people also who are only learning Python in industry, what will happen? You will see these two tools getting used majorly. One is PyCharm and second is Jupyter Notebook. So Jupyter Notebook will be coming with Anaconda installation. Let me check if anyone else is waiting in the waiting room. No, right? Okay. So Anaconda download. This is something you will open. The two links on the top is actually correct. Any of that you can choose. I will go with the first one. In this, as the title itself is saying, it is your data science toolkit, right? But anyone who is in this batch, everyone have to install it. It is not like only people who are going for data science only will be installing it. Okay, yeah, so you have to go down on this page, and then you will see multiple options here. Okay, so for Windows, depends on your machine. If you are using a 32-bit machine, go for 32-bit, or 64-bit, you can go for 64-bit. For Mac OS, it is 64-bit only. Okay, you can use a graphical installer or a CL installer. Or for Linux, you can use the 64-bit installer. Now, very important thing to notice here, this all are giving you Python 3.8. Okay, so as I told you in yesterday's class, um, you will be installing three applications. One is Python, which will be bringing Python 3.9 into your machine. PyCharm, which will not be bringing any Python executable in your machine. Then Anaconda, which will be using Conda executable in your machine. It is known as Conda executables. Okay, and that will be coming with Python 3.8. So in your machine, there will be two versions of Python if you are using Windows 3.8 and 3.9. If you are using Mac OS, in your machine, there will be again three version of Python. Python 2, which comes by default with Mac OS. Python 3.9, which you will be installing, or that also comes by default with macOS, and 3.8 which you will be getting from Anaconda. Okay, so this is the place you just have to download. For example, I am downloading this one. It will be giving you one executable file. Okay, so depends on your internet speed. uh, it is again a simple setup. It's directly a exe file. Okay, and you have to install it. It will ask you, do you want to set up the environment variable? Do you want to make Anaconda as your by default application to open the Python files, right? All those basic steps it will ask. You can say yes to everything. There is nothing harm in doing that. Okay. And then people who have already installed Anaconda, they were saying that how to find if Anaconda is installed in their machine. That was one step missing for them, right? So let me share my complete screen with you. You have to search for
Oh,
Anaconda. Yeah.
hello, sir.
Hmm.
Sorry for interrupt, but your voice is not clearly audible.
Okay.
I think some network issue. Could you please check?
Yes. So is it happening for everyone? Can
No, it is clear.
let me check in the chat window also. Okay. Um, so it is clear to most of the people. What I will suggest is I'm not sure what else I can do. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so I have reconnected my audio device. Maybe that will help little bit. But mostly it is clear to other participants in the batch. So mm, let me know. Let me know if you again face some difficulties with audio. Okay. So people who have already installed Anaconda and they are saying that they are not able to find Anaconda in their machine. So what I will suggest, go to start menu, search for Anaconda. There are multiple options you will be getting. Okay. So one is Anaconda Navigator, one is Anaconda Prompt, and then there is a link for Jupyter Notebook directly also. Okay. And then Anaconda PowerShell prompt also, and other things also which are associated with Anaconda. So, Anaconda prompt is something like a command prompt in your machine, but that will be running directly in the Anaconda's setup. Okay. But what I will suggest is you, in your initial days of learning, you use Anaconda Navigator. Okay. When you click on it, it will again take some few seconds of time to open. It's an heavy application. If anyone faces any kind of issues while installing this softwares, you just have to tell me. What I will do, I will make you the host and you will be able to share your screen, and then everyone can see what issues you are getting, so that it will be helpful for everyone. Okay. Do not keep it on pending. Okay, because I am giving you 2 days of time, yesterday's time and today's time for all these installations, right? So do not keep it on pending. Please do the installations on time. Okay. Now, when you come to Anaconda Navigator, this is launched. In this, you will see multiple options like Jupyter Lab, Jupyter Notebook, PyCharm, PowerShell Prompt, and other things also. You do not have to explore each and every component here. We will be using Jupyter Notebook only. Okay. So this is the one, the third in the row, Jupyter Notebook. This is what we will be using for our data science learning, and also in our Python learning also we will be using this. This is the second tool we will start using after ideally. Okay, so now when we start using Jupyter Notebook, I will tell you more basic things about Jupyter Notebook. So do not worry right now. If you are able to launch Anaconda Navigator, if you are able to see that Jupyter Notebook is there, that's enough. That is enough for now. Okay, when we start using it, we will see that how we can launch it, how it get launched to a web browser and other things. We will see that. Now, people who have a machine which is what I can say, not having much memory or RAM, I'll suggest do not launch Anaconda and PyCharm together. Okay. What else we can do? We can simply type Jupyter Notebook also, and that will launch Jupyter Notebook directly for us, rather than opening the complete Anaconda Navigator. Okay, but both will use the equal amount of memory. There is no difference in that. So there was someone asking about how to find if Anaconda is installed in their machine or not. So this is the way you can find it. I know 8 GB is enough. If someone is using 4 GB, then it is little problematic. 8 GB is enough. Okay, so there are some people who have joined us today for the first time, and your Google Classroom setup is still pending, and that will be done by admin. So I have no control on that. They will be doing it in a day or two, right? Once that is done, then we will be sharing the videos with you. We will be using only notebook, Anukriti, Jupyter Notebook. We will not be using Jupyter Lab. So for the other people who joined us for the first time today, uh, the first application which you have to download, please follow the steps once again. Python.org, you have to go to this website. You have to check the downloads. I will be little quick because other people have already done this. Then you have to, it will detect your machine automatically when you click on downloads, right? You have to download this Python 3.9.1. That need to be installed. Again, one exe file will be downloaded. Let me see if that is there in my downloads. No, I have deleted that already. So a normal exe file will be downloaded. Once you install it, there are two things you have to check. You have to come into command prompt. Okay, in command prompt you have to write Python and V. Okay, it will tell you which Python version is installed in your machine. For people who are using MacBook, you have to write Python 2 hyphen V if you want to see the version of Python 2 installed in your machine. It will be 2.7.16 if you're using the latest Mac OS, and you have to use Python 3 hyphen capital V if you want to see the version of Python 3 installed in your machine. Okay, by default, if you run Python hyphen V, it will be always giving you the version 2. This is instruction only for people who are using Mac OS. Okay, so this is done. So this is the Python installation, and then you have to install pycharm also. When you search a string in Google, it will give you a website with name JetBrains. Go to that website, JetBrains. There will be two options, okay, professional and community. You have to download the community one. Okay, professional is only free for 30 days, then it will ask you for subscription. Do not go for that. Go for the community edition. Here also you have multiple options, like for Mac you have this download button directly, and for Linux also you have this. Okay, so for Mac I will suggest you again go for download the community edition. In There is a difference in Mac and Windows. Um, the look and feel will be different, but the internal architecture and working procedure are same. So when you see me working on PyCharm and you feel that it is looking different in my machine and your machine, for people who are using MacBook, there is a setting to change the theme and all. I will tell you at that time. Okay. Okay. So these three applications you have to install. Now I will go to my whiteboard.
Manpreet, Bhupesh here.
Mhm.
Just one, I don't know, in my case, Anaconda, when I'm trying to install, it
Mhm.
just gets stuck in the end, So can I share my screen or
Means it does
which?
not get completed.
It never gets completed. Yeah, I've tried it twice, thrice.
Mhm. Okay, so it means the installation itself is not complete.
No,
So,
that's what. And I
mhm.
can't see the logs also. It
Okay.
just gets stuck at the same place.
Mhm. Okay, fine. So we will do one thing, Bhupesh, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So I will remember this. Let's do it at the end of the class.
fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
Other people also who are facing problem, feel free at the end of the class, one by one. We will ask you to share the screen. Okay. And Harshita is asking, sir, could you tell again about the setting of the environment variable for the Python part? Yes, I will share it now. So once Python is installed in your machine, you have to search for Python. Okay, so you will see this Python 3.8, 32-bit or 64-bit, whatever you have installed. Okay, and then right click on it, open the file location. You will get a shortcut file location definitely. You have to search for its property. Right click on it again, search for its properties. In the properties, you will see the target from where it is starting, right? So you copy this location as it is, okay, and then you go to environment variable, search for environment in start menu. It will give you edit the system environment variable, okay. Click on that. This window will open. This is a very common window in every machine, okay. In this window, it is a system properties window actually, and then you have to go to environment variables here. Okay, here you will see two options. One is for user variable for MPSC, which is my user, or system variables, which is this machine's variable. Okay, we have to change the system variables. In system variable, you will see a variable with name path. Okay, PATH. It will be in small letter, capital PATH. And there will be other things also, which say like path, ext, and other things. Do not touch that. Let it be like that only. In path, you have to edit it. Now, a very interesting thing, and what happens in Windows 10, you see like a list of path which has been added here. But in older version of Windows, it comes as a text box. What people does mainly, I mean, I have seen people doing this mistake. When it comes as a text box to them, right? They simply replace everything by the link which we have copied for Python. Do not do that. Okay, I'll tell you how to do that also. So in Windows 10, you have to simply click on the new button, paste whatever location you have copied from that, right, and then remove .exe path from the end, and just click on OK and save it. That's all. Okay. Now, what happens? People who are using old version of Windows, you will get something like this, right? You'll get something like this already in their path. When you click on edit button, you will get something like this, a text box. Okay, do not completely copy paste this location there. Go to the end of that text box, okay, add a semicolon, and then paste whatever you have copied from here. Got my point? And if you find any issues there, just let me know. Okay, Harshita. So now I'm sharing my whiteboard. Most of the things we'll be learning today will be on the whiteboard itself. So that's why I'm saying that all the setup steps which I have shared, you again have 2 days time to do it. So do not hurry on that. Take your time. Right now, concentrate on this learning, and then after the class, you can go ahead with the installation also. And I will be sharing one file. I'm not sure where I kept that text file. There's a text file which have all the steps how to do this installation and all. Okay, so do not worry about that. Okay, so I will repeat one thing for today and then we'll start with the new topic. So, when we talk about Python installation, right? For example, if this is your machine or this is your laptop, whatever you are using, right? Um, can anyone please confirm if my whiteboard and whatever I'm writing is visible to them?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure. Thank you. So, when we install Python, right, it get installed here. It brings 3.9.1 version of Python into your machine. So one Python executable is coming when you install Python. This you are installing from python.org, right? This is one installation you are doing. This is your first one. Now the second one you are installing pycharm. Okay, this you are installing from JetBrains. It is not bringing any executable with it. Okay, this is your second installation. Okay, the third you are installing anaconda. Okay, this is bringing 3.8 point something in your machine. Again, a executable is coming in your machine, right? So this is your third installation, and this is actually bringing conda executable. This is known as conda. Okay, now what happens when you run programs in pycharm, right? Now pycharm has two options. It will ask whether I read it from this executable or this executable. So when we will work with pycharm, I will show you how to change the executable there. So this, as it is, does not have its own executables, right? It will use which is available in the machine, and machine is having this too. So it will give you a drop down there. So do not worry about that. When we start working with pycharm, I'll show you how you can switch from this to this. And now what is the major difference in this two? I told you yesterday also that when you install Anaconda and when you install only Python, so it is only coming with Python executable and other packages which is available in Python, you have to import it explicitly. You have to write the import command, which we will learn how import commands work, and you have to import all those packages explicitly. Okay, by default it will not come. It will only come with a Python executable. But when you are working with Conda installation, right, it brings you the basic Python executable, that is for sure. Additionally, it brings you more packages already installed in your space where you are working. Okay, so you do not have to explicitly install it, but definitely if there are like 1,000 packages or modules outside, so this is bringing zero for you. This may be bringing 800 already installed here. Other 200s here also you have to import when if you plan to use it, right? So this is just an example like what it is bringing extra. Okay, so this is about the installation. I'll give you 1 minute of time if you have any doubt with this. If you have doubt with the steps of installation, wait for the end of the class. I will make you host. You can share your screen. We'll discuss about that. If you have doubt in understanding like how this setup theoretically works, please let me know.
So Manpreet, is Conda really required? Anaconda really required? If I import everything on Python,
Mhm.
can I not directly work through PyCharm and Python rather than probably
So
opening?
no, Anaconda is any of this, all these three are not mandatory because there is a workaround. Because I told you that Anaconda is problematic for many people, right? And may I ask you which operating system you're using?
Mine is Windows 10.
Windows 10, right? Yeah, so Windows 10 is very good enough for Anaconda, but I'm not sure. So Anaconda is not very compulsory. I will give you a workaround for this. As I told you in the last class, any of this setup is not important if you want to run everything on the cloud. Okay, so you just need one internet connection to run your code online. Okay. Yeah, but PyCharm will be required because there is a time when we will be talking about packaging and modules, right? At that time, PyCharm is compulsory. So in initial days of learning, maybe for our 15 or 16 classes, any of this is not compulsory. Okay, but it is good to have everything in your machine. So for Anaconda, we have an alternative. I will tell you in next 1 minute. Okay, so no other doubts. Fine. I'll clean it. I'll start sharing my browser once again. There's some chat. Okay. Okay, there's a confirmation. Okay, so coming back to alternative. So Google gives you Google Colab as a platform. Okay, so Google Colab is a platform where it gives you the option to write Python programs online. Okay, you search for Colab. The full form is Collaboratory, and this is the link which will be coming first. Go to that link. Okay, then it will ask you. Now there are two things which is very good in this case. Whatever code you write in Google Colab, you do not have to save it anywhere. It directly gets saved into your Google Drive. Okay, so in your Google Drive, the moment you start using Google Colab, there is a folder with name Colab will be created in your Google Drive. All your files which you are working on this place will get stored there automatically. Okay, now it asks you that which file you want to open, right? So it is asking for recent Google Drive, GitHub, or you want to upload some file, or you want to open some examples file which is already available in the cloud. Or in the bottom, if you see, there is an option to open the new notebook, or there is an option to cancel this option also. Okay, so I will go with the new notebook. Okay, so for Anaconda and Google Colab, when we start with data science batch, for the people who have registered for data science, there is a lot of tips and tricks which is only useful for data science. So that we tell you at that moment, not right now with the Python learning. Okay. So if you see there is a file untitled.ipynb is created, you can rename it second class.ipynb. That will be stored in your Google Drive directly. Okay, now here if you see this is giving you a text box to write. For example, if I write my first program, print the hello world, always write the first program, so it can directly execute here. You click on the run button, it will run your program and it will give you the output. Okay, so it is taking some time right now because it is trying to connect to the Python in the Google server and run it. But what will happen? So you get the output, right? The moment you have done that, now if I uh, add one more and I print again, for example, and I run this, now it will be little quick. Why? Because you might have noticed here when I started the new notebook, nothing was allocated. Now, if you see, Google has given you free of cost Python 3 Google Computing Engine backend. Okay, it has a RAM of 0.76 GB and it is giving you 12.72 GB disk. Okay, so this is completely on cloud. You do not have to download anything. You don't have to install anything for the people who are having problem with the Anaconda installation. So this can be an alternative for you. But I will suggest, my suggestion will be you install everything in your machine. If you're having big problems with the installation, then you can use Google Colab online. Good thing about it, everything will be stored in the cloud itself. You just have to write your code, run it. So whatever I will be teaching you on my ideally or pycharm or anaconda, you can write the same code here and it will be running it for you. Okay, makes sense. So the person who was asking about anaconda, is it uh,
Yeah,
clear to you?
makes a lot
Yeah.
of sense.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to my whiteboard. Okay, so now for the freshers, a very important interview question, and for experienced person, this is a knowledgeable point to note, but maybe you will not be getting asked this question. Python is a interpreted language or a compiled language. I told you when we start with the very basic, right? So this is the basic thing which we can discuss today. So first of all, we have to understand what is interpreter, right? And then we will see that Python is an interpreted language or it is a compiled language, right? So we have to first understand what is interpreter, what is compiler. In both the cases, first of all, you are having a machine or laptop, right? You are working with a device. On that device itself, we are deciding what is a interpreter and what is a compiler. Okay. Now, what interpreter does, whatever code you write, right? Whatever code you will write in Python language, it is a human readable uh, code, right? It is a high level language. What we call it as a high level language, which is a human readable language. So when I write a Python code, you are someone who can read it. Now, you do not understand the Python code today because you do not know the Python language, but at least you can read it, right? You can read the print statement, you can read the other statements which has been written, but you do not understand right now. So if I send this high level language directly to my machine will not be able to understand it, right? So I have two ways of sending it to my machine. Either I can send it through interpreter or I can send it through compiler. Now, both has different functionalities. Okay. Now the functionalities are like interpreter, it read the code, okay, and it directly ask your machine for the activity. So the activity is happening directly here. So if you're asking what is 2 plus 3, right? Who will be doing this activity? This machine, this laptop, or whatever processor is there inside. We will not go into that detail. But this machine or laptop will be processing this and telling you that the answer is 5, right? But this 2 plus 3 is equal to 5, it is a human readable, it is a high level language. It is not understood by machine directly. So the interpreter will convert that into a low level language, into a machine language, right? So that the machine will understand that. But here, the thing is, the interpreter is directly going for the activity. It is directly giving the instruction to the machine that what need to be done. Okay. Now, in case of compiler, what happens? This high level language will come to it. Now, the compiler's duty is to convert the. There's someone who's trying to join. Just give me a second. Yeah. So the compiler, what it does always, it converts your high level language to another form. Okay. I'm not saying that it always convert into a machine level language. That is not true about compiler. Compiler converts one form of language to another form of language. So in most of the case, or I will say in 99% of the cases, it is converting your high level language into a machine level language. But that is not the definition of compiler. Definition of compiler says that it converts one form of language to another form of language. Okay. It can be anything. It can be any X language to Y language. That is the job of compiler. But in 99% cases, it converts the high level language into a machine level language. And then that language goes to machine because it is now a machine understood language, and then it will take the action. So here, if you see, the conversion is not happening here in case of interpret. But in case of compiler, it is happening. Okay, so it is a direct activity in case of interpreter. In compiler, it converts the language here. Okay. Now the question comes into picture if Python is a interpreted language or compiled language. Okay. Now to answer that, before that I have to erase this. So if you have any doubt in this, let me know. And if anyone is very new to interpreter and compiler also, what I will suggest, think it in a way that if, for example, our Prime Minister is going to Japan, he do not know Japanese language, right? The Japanese Prime Minister will be talking everything in Japanese and the Indian PM will be talking everything in Hindi. So there is what? There is an interpreter in between. That person is converting Indian language and telling this directly. So if you see, right, that person do not write something and then convert into Japanese. No, that does not happen. That person listen to our Indian PM and directly say the statements to Japanese PM. A direct action is happening there, a direct conversion is happening there, right? It is not like he's writing something down and then he's converting it and then telling to the Japanese PM. No, the direct conversion and action is happening at the same time. So that a kind of example you can think of if you are very new to this words also. Okay. Now, when someone asks you if Python is an interpreted language or compiled language, what happens? Any language, any X language, right? It goes through multiple steps before it get executed by machine, right? It goes through multiple steps. Now, what is the last step? That is the name of that language. It means if the last step is interpretation, then this X language is interpreted language. If the last step is compilation, then this X language is a compiled language. In case of Python, there are two steps involved. Then it gets converted into a machine activity. So the last step is interpreted. That is why Python is known as interpreted language. But what is this step then? Anything else is happening, right? So to explain you that, when you answer in an interview, they will ask you if Python is an interpreted language or a compiled language. If you simply answer in one line that Python is an interpreted language, most of the interviewer will not be happy with that answer. So you have to explain something extra, and that extra is what is this step is doing then, because Python use both compiler and interpreter, and there are many people in the community who do not believe this, right? So okay, do not believe in this is another thing, but I can prove it with the facts. So that is what we have to do, right? So Python, when you write a code, you actually write a .py file, right? .py file, this file is having the high level language which you can read because you have written that, so you can read it also, right? So it is a high level language. Now it, when you run the code, it get converted into a .pyc file. This pyc file is available in your machine right now if you have installed Python already. If you have installed Python already, such kind of pyc files is already available in your machine. What is this pyc file then if Python is not a compiled language, right? This is Python compiled files. That is the full form of this abbreviation, pyc file. What this pyc file is containing in it? What this pyc file is containing in it? It is containing opcode. I'll tell you all these things in detail also. Just be with me for next few minutes. Okay. So when you run the Python file, right, the high level language get converted into a pyc file, .pyc file, which is having the opcode, or you can say it is a bytecode also. In normal language, in a computer science language, we can say it's a bytecode. Then it goes to your PVM, which is a Python virtual machine. Okay, Python virtual machine, which has the interpreter in it. Then it send it to the machine for the action, right? And then your action get executed here. So what happens if you see this circle of execution, right? Your Python file is going through compilation also, your Python file is going through interpreter also. So just saying that your Python is an interpreted language is not a correct statement completely. But it is a correct statement if you want to answer in one line, because the last step is always get considered. And the last step in our case is interpretation. Okay. So this is the flow of execution when it comes into picture. Now, the high level language is getting converted into opcode. Then again, this is not a machine level language. That is what I told you about compiler. Compiler converts one form of language to another form of language. It is not necessary that it always convert it into a low machine level language. So in our case, compiler is creating the PYC file. This PYC file is having the opcode, and then that opcode becomes the input to our interpreter, and then interpreter takes the action. So for example, if you have written 2 plus 3 here in your high level language, PYC will be having some opcode, right? I'm not sure how that will look. It will look like a um, binary code to you, okay? And then it goes to interpreter, and then machine says, again machine result into a machine level language, right? When it comes as an output to you, it comes as a high level language 5. Machine is doing this activity, but it takes all this way to travel it here. I'll give you 1 minute of time. Take a look at it. Let me know if you have any doubt in this. This is one of the interview question for freshers mainly. It will not be asked to the experienced person, but it can be asked.
What's the full form of PVM?
Python virtual machine. Like
Okay.
JVM, like in case of Java, we have JVM, Java Virtual Machine. In Python, we have Python Virtual Machine. I'll tell you about this. Okay, so no doubts coming in here. So I'll clear this diagram. Okay, fine. Okay, this is your machine or laptop. Okay, or to your computer, right? Now, when you install Python on it, it got another layer of application on it, and that is known as PVM, Python Virtual Machine. So whatever code you write, it does not land on your machine directly. It land on it, and then it makes sure it land on your machine. So this is your Python executable which you have installed. Because it comes with interpreter, or you can say interpreter is available here, right? So that is virtual machine. Virtual machine means this machine is your hardware, actually the hard machine which you have in your hand. And this Python virtual machine, it is again a processing unit, right, which is virtually installed on your machine. So that's why it is a Python virtual machine, and it knows all the rules and regulation to run the Python code. The interpreter is available here. Okay, so it will make sure that everything is getting executed there. Now, uh, they can ask you more difference about the compiled and interpreted Python language. So what happened when you write a py file, right? There can be some syntax error. Syntax error means you have written the code wrong. Your logic is correct, but the way you have written the code is wrong. Then who will judge if the way you have written the code, the syntax error will be caught by compiler or interpreter? That can be the next question. This again more relevant to freshers. This can be asked to you in interview. The syntax error in your Python file .py file, right, will be catched by whom? Compiler or interpreter? In this case, actually, when you see that PYC file is getting created, so compiler will check all this thing. Compiler will check if the syntax in your code and everything is correct or not. If that is correct, then only the PYC file will be created. Okay, it will only check for syntax. I'm not saying that it will check for global variables, local variables, and all other things. No, that will not happen. It will only check for the syntax of your code if everything is correct or not, and then it will create the PYC. If anything is not correct, then the error will be thrown by the compiler itself. Okay, and then this will be going to, definitely we have discussed already, interpreter, and then to your machine, that, and then everything will be executed. Now there can be some error coming from interpreter also, right, which will not be syntax error, different kind of error. The errors will be discussed when we talk about exception handling in our classes. We will see what kind of error it can come from this interpreter. Okay, now so this is all about if Python is a compiled language or a interpreted language, right? If you have any doubt, you can stop me. I'll explain you this again. Now, what is fast, right? If a compiler based language or interpreter based language, what is fast? Because sometimes people say that Python is a slow language or something like that, right? So that myth also we need to break it today as we are going to learn Python, right? So we have not started Python learning as such till now. That will be happening from tomorrow. From tomorrow we will be starting with, ideally we'll be starting with our Python learning. But for today, after completing this, I will be giving you the basic concepts of object oriented programming, and then from tomorrow we will be starting with actual Python learning. Okay, so which language is faster? So what happens in case of compiler, if you have, for example, 1,000 line of code, if you have 1,000 lines of code, each and every line of code will be executed, will be compiled, right? A compiled file will be created, in our case a .pyc file, and then that will be sent to interpreter. The interpreter is something, it read everything line by line. Why? Because it has to take the actions also. Okay, so it will read the first line, make the action, right? It read the second line, make the action, third line, make the action, like that. Line by line it will read everything. But in case of compiler, its activity get completed only if it read all the 1,000 lines together and create the compiled file for you. So in case of Python, both the things are happening. But when you are working with the shell prompt and other tools, right, where you are not creating py file. So from tomorrow you will see that we are not creating py file always. When we are running the code on the shell prompt, we directly write the code. We directly write the instruction, right? We directly write the instruction. That instruction directly go to interpreter. Directly action will happen. No compilation, nothing is required in that case, right? But when we start working with pycharm, you see that we create a py file, and then that converted into pyc file, right? Such thing will be happening when we start working with pycharm. So mm, people normally say that a compiler based language is faster because it runs everything at once, right? But if I have, for example, 1 million line of code, then what will happen? This first instruction is still not done. In that case, the interpreter based language is good, right? At least it start taking the actions from the first place. But on the 100th place, there may be something wrong, and interpreter is not aware of that. So it's better to first check all the line of code is correct or not, and then only to push it for interpreter, right? And that is why Python, some people say it is a slow language because of this combination, but it is the best combination available right now, okay, as compared to any other language. It does the both the activity for you. First to check everything is correct in your code or not, and then it goes for the action according to it. Okay, now the last thing in this section is pycache. What is the use of pycache? First of all, if you have the knowledge of cache, cache is you might have heard cache word when you are working with browser, your browser cache, memory cache in your phone, right? Cache memory. So it is a temporary memory, you can say, in case of web browser and phone. But here it is not like that. It is a permanent memory What happened whenever you create a project, right? For example, this is my project, and in this project I have a file .py file. When I compile this, just give me a second. Yes, Sunil, I will answer that question for you. So this py file, when it get compiled, it creates a pyc file, right? But we do not talk about where this pyc file will be stored, right? Because this project, when you have created, definitely you have a structure, folders, everything inside it, and the py files are stored there. But there is something else getting created by the compiler itself, and that you have not created any folder for it. So compiler have to take care and create a folder for it. So that is pycache. Even if you have installed python in your machine, right, pycache folder is also available right now without any execution, because the software is installed in your machine, right? So there will be a folder with name pycache also. But it is a project dependent. It is not like every pyc file will be going to a single pycache. No, every project will be having their own pycache. So pycache is the location where all this compiled file will be stored. Okay, if someone asks you in the interview what is a pycache, pycache is the location where all your compiled file will be stored. Yeah, Sandeep. So how it work? It is very simple. When your Python code is compiled, you need a location to store this anywhere, right? So this is a location. This is not a program. This is a folder. Pycache is a folder. I will show you all these things.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, just 1 second. So if I search for a .pyc file in my machine, let me open the location where I have installed. So this is where my Python is installed, right? So here I will search for a .pyc file. And if you see, these are the folders, pycache. Multiple folders are there. In this pycache, if you go, there will be a compiled Python file available here. You see, the extension of this file will be pyc. See, right? So all these files are available in which location? PyCache. So every project will have their own PyCache. When I say that, for example, if I go to any of my old
Sir, which file record in PyCache?
sorry,
File record, sir, in PyCache.
no, I'm not understanding your question. Your voice was breaking a little bit in between. Can you please come again?
Okay, sir.
Uh, .pyc file. Which file is getting stored in PyCache? You're asking, right?
Yes.
Yeah, .pyc file, the compiled file. Okay, so Anukriti, yes, it get used in other places also. It is not only a folder to store it. What happens is like, yeah, if you talk about PyCache, because PyCache is not a program, it's a simply folder, right? So to answer your question, yes, it has nothing else to do. It will store the PYC files only in it. But yes, for example, if you have written a code of 10 lines, and if you're not changing anything in that code and executing that again and again, right? So Python will take care that it does not actually execute that program multiple times, because that is the 10 lines of that code is already executed, right? So it will not create a new PYC file. So when it does that, it actually use this PyCache folder to check if that PYC file is already there and it has no changes in it, right? So that it will not execute that 10 lines of code again and again because there is no change. So from your side, you can try to execute that program multiple times, but internally it will not be executing it until you make any code change in that file, right? So in such cases, pycache as a folder will be getting used in that process itself, but the pycache folder will not be doing that activity. Your Python JVM will be doing that, sorry, Python virtual machine will be doing that activity for you, right? But pycache get used in multiple processes. uh, Internally, yes, it works as a version control, but naming it as a version control will be a wrong thing actually, because it is not maintaining any version. It is, yes, it kind of, yeah. It checks the if there is any change happen in the line of code or not before executing the profile. And if it is changed, then only it will create a new PYC file for it or replaces the old one. But if it is not changed, it will not do anything there. So version control is actually, it's kind of, yeah. But version control in computer science language does not talk about execution. And here everything is execution, right? Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much about. No, no, it's null. So no dot out file will be created. No, whatever output of your program, you have to hold on a little bit to see the output and all, because when we start working with the Python language, you will see that, right? But it does not create any dot out file. No, it gives the output in the console, or it gives the output in the file which you create internally in the program. But it does, by default, it does not create any output file. Okay, so let's go to, it's already 9 o'clock. So let's go to whiteboard again, because I have to complete the object oriented basics today. There was someone who was asking about uh, difference between Python and Java, right? So that will be answered automatically once I complete this object oriented programming concept. Okay, so hold on there. That question will get answered, don't worry. So now when I teach you object oriented programming today, okay, okay, so this is, I'm not teaching you for Python. Okay, this is not for Python, because for Python, object oriented programming will come in your 15th or 16th class, which is very far away from now. Then why I am teaching you object oriented programming today? Because when I start with my Python teaching tomorrow, there are some words which I will be using multiple times, like class, objects, instances, overloading, overriding, right? All these things, these words I will be using multiple times in my classes when I teach you Python, right? And then you may have a doubt like, what is class? What is object? What is instance? Right? What is overloading? What is overriding? All these things will come into your mind because these words are not known to you. So I am teaching you object-oriented programming to explain you what are the meaning of these words. And so I am teaching you from the computer science perspective, a general topic, not from the Python's perspective. Python does not follow the complete object-oriented programming. Okay, so that we will see on our 15th or 16th classes, but now we will see the basics of it. Okay, now to explain you this, let me take one example. For example, there is a person with name Amit. Okay, he is creating a house. So before creating a house, he will be designing it, right? This is an example. Okay, so he has designed a house with some rooms, kitchen, and other things, right? For example, kitchen, room, right, bedroom, then balcony, and garage, and other things. Now, this is the design. This is only the design. Can I ask Amit to go and live in this design? It is not possible, right? I cannot ask Amit to go and live in this design. This design is what? This is simply a paper on which something has been designed for his home, right? I cannot ask him to go and live in this paper. So he has designed a kitchen whose functionality is to cook, right? He has created a room whose functionality has something, right? He has created a balcony whose functionality has something. Everything in this design has some functionality, has some use cases, right? But can he use it only by this design? No. What he has to do, he has to actually use this design and create his home, right? Something, his home need to be created by using this design. And then in that place he may be having a kitchen where he can actually use the functionality of kitchen. So what happens in this is a layman term explanation, that you have a design and then you use that design to create something, and then whatever is the end product you have created, you can use it. But you cannot use this design. You cannot live in this design. You can live in this home, right? So in computer science world, right, this is known as class. Class is a design or template, right, which just give you the instruction like how something need to be designed or how something need to be created. And what is that something which you are creating? That is a object. Okay, so by using the design you create an object. But when you create the design, there are multiple attributes like this kitchen. Kitchen is what? Kitchen is a attribute. Now, all these words which I am writing in red color is actually the technical words which I will be using when I teach you Python. Okay, so remember this, whatever I am saying about this. Now, kitchen is an attribute of this class or this home design. It's an attribute. Room is again an attribute. Uh, Again, this bedroom is a attribute. This balcony is a attribute, right? Now, kitchen has a functionality. So this it means this kitchen, which is an attribute, it will have a functionality also, right? But can you use this functionality only by using the class? If I give you this paper design in your hand and I tell you to cook something, is it possible? No, you cannot use the functionality of kitchen until you create the object. Until you create your own home, you cannot do that. Once you have the home, you can use the kitchen functionality, right? You can cook inside the kitchen once you have this object ready. So class is only for design, and class is only for telling you like what are the attributes and functions will be available. But you cannot use them until you have the object created out of it. Okay, so I hope that you will be clear with the words. Now here you have to be clear with the words and its meaning, right? From the real world example. You will be able to connect the dots when we actually learn Python. And then when I say this is a class, then you will understand, okay, ये class है, यहाँ पर सिर्फ attributes and functions design है, ये इसको use नहीं कर सकते, right? That will come into picture when I say something is a class. When I say something is an object, you will understand, okay, there will be a class from which we are creating this object. So it means there is a template where the attributes and functions will be defined for that object, right? Now, the important thing here is, if there is another person with name Rahul, okay, he says to Amit that I want to use your design. I want to use your design. Okay. So what Amit will do? Amit will take his home and he will give it to Rahul. No, right? That will not be happening. Right? Amit will not be giving. See, Rahul is asking that I want to create a similar kind of home like you. Right? So what Amit will do? Amit will give his home to Rahul. No, that will not happen, right? So Amit will do something like he will share this design with Rahul. So it means the class once created can be used by multiple places, can be used by multiple people. Then Rahul will create his own home, right? This will also have a kitchen in it. This will also have all these attributes which was available in Amit's house. But Amit will use his own kitchen. Rahul will use his own kitchen. Definitely, both are using the same design. But is it like Amit will use Rahul's kitchen and Rahul will use Amit's kitchen? No, that will not happen, right? So, in in real world also, such kind of activities are not happening. In programming world also, it will not happen. A class once created, right? That class will be used multiple places as a template. But that object which is created by Rahul belongs to Rahul only, cannot be used by Amit. Okay. Now, if Amit, now I will make it little more complicated, right? If Amit want to use Rahul's kitchen, what will happen? Is it not possible? It is possible, but he has to go through Rahul, right? So Amit will go to Rahul, and then Rahul will take it to his kitchen, right? He cannot directly jump in there. So such kind of activities are possible in programming world also. It means the object which you have created is accessible to Rahul by default. It can be accessed by Amit also, but he has to go through Rahul, right? So now these concepts we will be discussing in detail when we actually learn our object-oriented Python, right? But right now, if you are clear with the word class, function, attribute, object, right? I'm okay. I'm okay with it. If you are okay, if you are understanding these words, I'll give you 1 minute of time. Take a look at it, understand what is a class, what is an object, and then I will go ahead.
Suppose Rahul is calling Amit's class and he wants to change some attributes.
Mhm.
Then is it possible to change the attributes? Like he wants to add one bedroom again, one more bedroom.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
is it
I'm.
possible?
Yeah, it is possible, and that is what next example I will be giving. Yeah, it is possible.
Okay, 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 got it.
Yes. Okay. So no other doubts. So gradually in future classes also you will
Sir,
see.
so
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
sir, so function is the means functions in the class itself, right?
It is
Means functionality of the class, members in the class,
not members. There is, so using the word member is wrong here, right? You have,
attributes,
yeah, it is attributes. So every attribute,
attributes.
yeah, attributes and functions. So there can be some functionality in the class which does not have any attribute. That is also fine. But yes, the class will be having attributes and functions. So what that functionality also is
Okay.
defined inside the class itself. The class itself is designing that defining that this is the kitchen. What is the functionality of kitchen? But the functionality of kitchen cannot be used without any object. So Snehal, your question, if Python is structural or procedural or object oriented, I'm very happy to answer it is all three of it. You can write object oriented program also in Python. You can write structural program also in Python. You can write procedural program also in Python. And that is why Python is very famous in the market right now. There's no limitation like that. You can write all three kind of code in Python. So we will be starting when we start our learning, right? We will be learning procedural programming in the starting days, right? And then we will be moving toward structural programming, right? I never say in any class कि देखो ये procedural program लिखा है हमने. It is understood by everyone by default, right? So procedural programming will be the first step what we will be doing in our learning, and then structural programming, and then we will jump on to object-oriented programming. So Python supports all these three. Okay, so let me clear this out. Now, there was a question asked by someone, and I was actually about to go to that point only because if you see, we have not talked about inheritance, overloading, overriding, all those things is still pending for us to understand, right? So, for example, this is my design one. Okay, first I will write everything in black. This is the real world example. The moment I start writing in red color, that will be your programming world example. Okay, so this is design one, where we have kitchen, bedroom, hall, balcony, and some other room. Right, this is design one, and this is belonging to Amit. Amit has created this design. Now this design has been copied by Rahul. Rahul has not changed anything into it, so it is still design one. Okay, so it is having a kitchen, it is having a bedroom, it is having a hall, it is having a balcony, it is having an extra room. What Amit has done, sorry, what Rahul has done, he has added a gym in his house. So he has changed this design. So it is not design one anymore. This is design two, right? So this kind of changes is possible. This design can be copied here, and then they can add one more attribute into it. So can I say this was the parent design? This was the parent design. It got copied here. So this is a child design, right? And then you added something here. Similarly, in Python world also, what happens, or in computer science also, what happened? Object-oriented programming. This will be your parent class. This will be your parent class, because design we are saying it's a class, right? And this will be your child class, because you have copied the design from here to here, then you have made some changes, that's fine, right? And this is parent, this is child. In another example, what we say is like if there are parents in real world, right? They give birth to a child, and this child have most of the attributes from their parents only, right? But gradually when he grows, he adds some more attributes as per his learning and brought up, right? So then this kind of activities is possible. You copy everything from your parent, right? But you add your own attributes afterwards. So this kind of activity is possible in real world also, and in programming world also it is possible. Okay, so you have now the two new term you are learning here. Class you have already learned in our previous slide or diagram. Now you are learning parent class and child class. So now you understand which is a parent class, which is a child class. There's some question I think in the chat. Yeah, so this is actually inheritance, Sandeep. I will say that yes, inheritance is happening here, but I do not want to confuse people with that word right now, because the word inheritance I will not be using much in our next learnings. So that's why I'm not focusing more on that word right now. Yeah, but when we learn our object oriented Python, definitely we write program for inheritance. We see different kind of inheritance like diamond inheritance and other things also, but we do not learn about inheritance right now. So yeah, just to not confuse other people, like do not bug them up with a lot of new terms, right? Yeah. So if you guys are clear with parent class and child class, I'm okay with it. I will go to my next diagram, but I will give you 30 to 40 seconds of time if you have any doubt. Okay.
Just a quick question.
Yeah, yeah, go
Like
ahead.
whenever we are calling any function from a
Hmm.
class, is it means that we are calling any attribute or means any particular
Yes,
functionality?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So in programming world, or if you have created an object, right, and you're calling that object dot a function, right? So from where this function is coming? First of all, from where this object is coming? This object is coming from a class, right? And this class has created the object. When this object got created, it has already followed all the design of this class. So it means this function is already available with this object, and we are calling it simply. So everything is coming from the design only. So this function, when it got called, this function is called from this object only. But this object is having this function because it was designed in the class.
Okay. So we need to define classes globally or locally in the program.
See, classes are mostly defined globally only. So yeah, but that we will see, right?
Okay. Okay.
That is
Got
again
it.
we are going to programming concept of that object-oriented programming, right? So, but we will see that when it comes.
Okay. Got it.
So today's learning is more toward understanding the words. Okay. Now the last two words which is pending is overloading and overriding. People normally get confused with that, right? So let me give you an example of the same what we are talking about is this home, kitchen, bedroom, hall, balcony, one extra room. Okay. This is our parent. No, I'm not saying parent class, parent design, anything. I'm simply saying this is our parent, right? Now, here in this parent, we have a kitchen, right? Or let's say we have a balcony. Hmm? We have a balcony here. Now, there is someone who copied this design, kitchen, bedroom, hall, balcony, and extra room. Here we have extra room also. Now, what happens? This parent and this is child. This person is using this extra room. This person is using this extra room for storage. This person is using this extra room for puja, for example. What is happening? Same design, same room, everything is same. The purpose of that room is getting changed, right? The purpose of this room is getting changed. Now, be very careful when I say this, okay? This this child overridden the property of parent. The child has overridden the property of parent. The parent's property says that this room can be used for storage. Parent's property says this room can be used for storage. Child property says this room will be used for puja. What is changed? The functionality is changed. Do you see any change in the design? No. So this child is overriding the functionality of this room. Okay. So what is getting overridden? Functionality. The function is not changing. Function is not changing. The function remains same. So functionality changed. Function remains same. Okay. So in case of overriding, what happens? Your room remains same, function remains same. When I say function, means the name of the function. So if, for example, this has a name of function as room only, like room function. So room function remains same. The name of the function remains same, but the functionality inside that, what is defined by the line of codes, is changed. Earlier it was for storage. Now it is for puja. This is overriding. This is overriding. Okay, this is I am explaining you in a very layman term. I'm only explaining you that what it means, what this word means. Okay, we are not concentrating in how it will be used in Python. Okay, So this is the explanation for overriding as a word. Okay. I'll give you again 30 seconds of time if you want to ask any doubt in it. Okay, so no doubts. Fine. So the last word which is pending for our understanding is overloading. Okay. Let me clear it all. So, okay. So now understand overloading. Okay. Um, we have a kitchen here. We have a bedroom. We have another bedroom. We have a hall, and we have a balcony. So we have two rooms now. Both the rooms are known as bedroom only. Okay. So the function name for both is bedroom. But both will have different functionality. One is for parent. Parent means now, okay. Okay, when I say parent, do not get confused. This is for family. For family, okay. Let's say, no, not say parent. You'll get confused otherwise with that. Yeah. So this is for family, for example, and this is for guest. So both have different functionality. One bedroom is getting used for family, one bedroom is getting used for guest, right? So, but the name of the function is same. In such cases, right? In such cases, you simply there is a concept of arguments also here, right? You pass like if the bedroom is getting used for family, you will understand all this. We will learn all this, how the function is working, how the parameters are working. All those things are there. We will learn that in programming. Do not worry about that. Just understand the words here now. And then bedroom is using for guest. In both these cases, it has different functionality. Function remain the same. Even the function name is changing now. Bedroom, family, bedroom, guest. The name of the function also is changed, right? Such cases, this is defined as overloading. Now, if you see here, this is the only design we have, design one or parent design we have, right? There is no child design required for overloading. There is no child design required for overloading, right? And there is no inheritance required for overloading for the people who understand inheritance and other programming terms. Okay. But for overriding, the previous topic which we have learned, overriding, for that parent and child both is required. So overloading happens within a class. This design is a class, right? This design is a class. So overloading happens within a single class. It cannot happen between two classes. Overloading cannot happen between two classes. But overriding, right? It is not possible without two classes. So two classes are required here, minimum. Or parent or child combination is required, or inheritance is required. Then only overriding will be possible. But overloading can be done within a single class only. Okay, so this is the term which I wanted to tell you. Again, I will conclude this topic before I close. So let me know if you have any doubt in this. I'll give you 10-20 seconds to take a look on it.
So,
Mhm.
so overloading can be defined as change in function also.
Yes, this too will have different functionality, definitely. But change in function also means the function name, yes, will be different for both the places.
Change in functionality.
Change in functionality and the name of function also change, both changes here.
Okay.
Yeah. Name of function is actually not true to say. The parameters of function change, but I have not explained you anything about parameter till now, so I'm not bringing new words right now. So Sandeep is saying, can overload with different classes? No, it is not possible to overload with different classes. Mean one bedroom in parent class and another in child? No, that is not possible. That is known as overriding. What you are saying is known as overriding. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So let me clear this out. So we have discussed about class, objects. Now you will be understanding, at least you understand what is this words are, right? Now this I have explained you in a layman term or in a practical example, but we will see this in programmatical examples also. So the people who already know some of the programming techniques do not feel that this will be ending like this here. There will be programs and everything to explain each and everything again when we come to object oriented programming, Python, right? But now it is only for the word understanding. So class, object, and then we talked about overriding, overloading, right? Now one thing is pending, and that is instance, right? So for example, if you remember the design of home, for example, this is my home design. Now this is my design one. It is used by Amit, it is used by Rahul, and it is used by X person, Y person, Z person. Everyone has created their home. Everyone has created their home, for example, right? He has created. Everyone has created their home by using the same design. So this is Amit's instance. This is Amit's instance. This is Rahul's instance. This is X instance. This is Y's instance. Okay, this is Z's instance. So what is happening? By using this class, this many objects got created. These are the objects, right? The actual product which get created is object. So we can call it instance also. So this is like Amit's instance, this is Rahul's instance, this is X instance, Y's instance, Z's instance. Every object which is created by using the class is instance of the class. Okay, every object which is created by using the design of the class is actually an instance of the class. Okay, so that is the word instance also we wanted to see today. Okay, now from tomorrow when I say class, object, instance, all these words when I use, you will not, you will maybe having doubt, but you have to relate with these examples which I have told you today. Okay, the moment you relate it with the examples we have discussed today, it will be easy for you to understand when I say what is a class in the programming world also. Okay, and that is the reason why I have explained you the object oriented terms today. I have not explained you object oriented programming. Okay, do not get confused. Do not tell to someone that you have learned object oriented programming. No, you have not. You have only learned these terms today. Okay, okay, so yes, Divya, you can say that object and instance both are same. Yeah, the different ways of saying it, but both are same. Yes. Yeah. So there was a question like, what is the difference between Python and Java, right? So first of all, Python and Java both do not follow 100% of object-oriented programming. Object-oriented programming is something which is still you are pending to learn. You will learn it on 15th or 16th classes. So then you will see that what is the object-oriented programming completely, how it works, how you create class objects and other things. Okay. Um, but the major difference between Python and Java is like, uh, first of all, both are platform independent, so do not get confused there. Okay, both need JVM and PVM, both need Java is a completely compiler based language. Python is a interpreter based language. Okay, and Python can be used as a scripting language also. Python can be used as a structural, procedural, or object-oriented programming language. All these things can be done with Python, but it cannot be done with Java. Java is a object-oriented programming language. Okay, you have to create objects and classes to work with Java, right? But in case of Python, it is not very compulsory. You can create a normal script also without creation of any class and objects. So that is a major difference between Python and Java, I will say. But both the languages does not follow 100% object-oriented programming, because later on in Python you will see that overloading is not possible in Python. Overriding is possible, overloading is not possible. But ठीक है, that वो सब आएगा जब अपन object-oriented programming पढ़ेंगे. So that's all, guys. That's all from my side for today. I wanted to explain these terms to you. I wanted to explain you the difference between interpreted language or compiled language. That is a major interview question which get asked to freshers. And now from tomorrow, the speed of teaching will be little fast because we will be starting with Python now. Now all this theory, installation, everything is done, right? Definitely you may have some doubt in installation and all, which we will discuss. But from tomorrow, we will be focusing on Python and its learning. Okay, all this theory is done. So that's all from my side for today. I will be stop sharing now. I will give you 1 minute of time if you have any doubt. After that, people who want to drop, they can drop off. People who have problem with the installation, they can stay. If you have any doubt, you can ask. Okay, other people can drop off. That's fine.
Should I share my screen? Okay.
Yeah, just 1 second. I'll stop sharing. And who's that? Bhupesh, right?
Bhupesh, yes.
Yeah. Bhupesh.
Oh, host disabled participant screen share.
Yeah. So I made you a host,
Made.
Bhupesh.
All right.
Now you can share your screen.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
See, this is where it is getting stuck. I mean, it's been almost an hour now, and every time it is just coming here and getting stuck.
Uh, it is Windows. Can you show me your machine property?
Where do I? Where do I show you that?
Just 1 second.
Right click on my computer.
Yeah. And Dheeraj is asking, can we hear this recording again after class? Yes, Dheeraj, everything is getting recorded. Do not worry. Just wait for this classroom creation, Google Classroom creation. Admin will be creating that. Once that is ready, I will be sharing everything on that. Okay. I think I have to. I will stop recording actually. This one. Yeah, so I have started recording again. So do not open that window again. It is your company's laptop, right?
Correct, correct.
Yeah. So just give me 1 minute. Let me stop recording, and then you can share that window. So that's all, guys. I will stop recording now because Bhupesh is sharing his personal machines details and all. So we will not be recording that. Thank you everyone for today's class. People who want to drop off, they can drop off. And thank you very much for joining. I'll stop recording now.